The PRI APPR test, invoicing for unapproved prices, will take a approved price listing and match that up to the invoice file. So we're going to join those two together, which is happening on the left-hand side of the screen here, where I took a snippet out from the revenue test set. And we're creating that file joined. Again, I'm closing secondary to close that secondary file, which is a very good idea and can confuse ACL if the secondary file is open. And then I'm extracting the record if the order price is greater than the price approved, which order minus price approved is greater than 0, to orders overpriced. At that point, we calculate a price difference, etc. But it's a very simple test, yet very effective. You might also want to take a look for prices that are less than 0. So, in this case, we're looking for, say, revenue misstatements where we've overcharged somebody, but we might want to also look where we've undercharged somebody, and that would be less than 0. I guess you can get everything if, in essence, we took that extract record, if the absolute value of that whole equation, order price minus price approved, is greater than 0. So you could also just add an absolute value function around the if order price minus price approved, so just those variables there. And by doing so, you'll end up with every difference between the prices. But I need to note here, and we'll see this in ACL a little clearer in a second, we're only looking at one approved sales price in the price approval table. And a lot of times the sales price changes by time frame. So 1 week later we change the sales price, and then there is a new record in that approved sales price table with a date next to it for today, and then a month from now we change it again and we'll get that day in there with a new sales price. So in those cases you need to do another type of test, and we'll talk about that as well. But again, this is the simple test, but yet very effective, and a lot of times companies don't actually do this test where it's two disparate databases. One has the approved prices, one has the orders, and we're putting those two together. A lot of times that test never happens, and hence you don't find any problems. Now that we're in ACL, I can take a look at the approved prices table, and again notice how there's one inventory number and one unit price for each one. And as you take a look at the order and ship file, again a test that we may be utilizing here, we have the order price as well, and we also have the inventory number that will be matching up, to the approved price inventory number. So you'll need to make sure that that inventory number is the same between the tables, so something to remember. And with that said, let's run through this test because it is pretty quick. We'll run through PRI APPR, and we're going to select the approved price listing and then the sales order file, so order and ship file there. We're going to select the approved unit price and the inventory number. Again, we might want to select here, as the 7 in this case, or we may want to change it to something like 0.035 to be 3.5%. And in this case, we'll select the sales order number field, the product unit price here, so we can select unit price, the product number, product quantity field, so order quantity, the order date, the customer number field. I think we got everything here. We select OK. And then we have in this test here the customer overpricing, which is the summary of those, but the orders overpriced is the detailed listing. Again, we started out with about 16,000 and we ended up with about 1,800 that are overpriced. Again, the Z unit price is the approved price, price difference being shown here, the extended difference being shown over here of any of those differences. That is then summarized in the customer overpricing so that you can get a sense of the total order and the extended difference of that order. And there's some interesting ones here. I mean, something like that where the order was 6,000, the overpricing was two or three, 2 times that at least, which again, a pretty interesting test and something that you can quickly run using this script. An issue was raised a while back with regards to the approved pricing table not having, say, all of the dates of price changes, but rather just one price per inventory number. Now, I'm not completely answering this issue, but I wanted to provide you with a script that might be useful, and this is from the 101 ACL applications, a product that might be useful to you. So if you take a look at this test, what we're going to do, we have the journal entry number, the GL account, and the trans amount. Now, the journal entry number in this case, let's just imagine we change this in our mind here to the actual, say, inventory number. And if we had that, and then also in the GL account, let's imagine we change this to, date of change. What that will do, and say this is the price here, this particular GenLed 2 test, which will run now, again, there would be changes that you would need to make this work. But what this does is it creates one of the tables out there is it creates one called flat journals. And this is an interesting test in that it actually lays out the activity more in a flat fashion. So as you see here, journal entry 145, if we went back to the general ledger table, you would see that journal entry 145 kind of extends down here for a few rows, and then when you go back to flat journal, you could see that those rows are represented more as one long particular line. And by flattening the information, you can then flatten, say, instead of account number, we could make this date. You could have each date, and then within those dates, you could have the actual amounts here, which would be the prices. So this might be useful if you wanted to create, say, an average, or maybe if you wanted to join each order number to, or inventory number to each one of these prices. Again, there's a lot that could be done there, but I wanted to get you down the road of fixing that problem, but did want to note it's a little bit beyond this particular session. However, I did want to provide you something that could help you down that road if you ran into that issue of the approved pricing having multiple lines with the same inventory number, and again for each of the changed dates.